Hello everyone and welcome to part 125. For the first time in a little while, we actually begin the part somewhere that isn't the Centaur Clinic, which makes a bit of a pleasant change. But you can guarantee the Centaur Clinic is exactly where we're going to be going to, and where we are going to be spending the rest of this part. I can say that because I guarantee 100% that we are not going to be fading away in this part, and so we are definitely going to be here in the clinic for the rest of the part, unless I'm overlooking something. Because we're not going to fade away. Well, I mean, we are going to fade away, but not in the time that we've got, not in this part. We will fade away, but I'd imagine it will probably be in the next part. I got thinking. Alternatives. I got thinking, is there an alternative to doing what we're doing? And I was going to say, of course, one other interesting way of reaching 10 years would be for me to switch the game on, put my capture card on, start capturing, and just have my character just stand on the spot as the time slowly ticks past, and then I put my controller down, walk away and just leave the game for 100 hours. Then come back and boom, I've got myself a medal. The only problem with that, of course, is that when I fade away and it says, you know, your Digimon has faded away, which egg do you want? You have to press X during that, don't you? So 15 days would pass, or the lifespan of the Digimon, that will pass, but then I wouldn't be pressing X, and then I'd basically be stuck at the dialogue, wouldn't I? So it's not necessarily a good idea. Unless I do what Homer Simpson, unless I take inspiration from Homer Simpson and get some sort of toy bird to just position it so that it's going down and pecking the X button, and just leave it, and then hope that serves me well, and then come back in like 100 hours time, and then boom, I've got the medal in my hands. The only downside with that is that it would, I imagine that staring into the screen of my character just stood there doing absolutely nothing for God knows how long, it would probably reduce you to suicide. So in the interest of doing things in a much quicker way and doing less parts, I think I should probably continue doing what I'm doing. Not to mention that when Homer Simpson did what I said, didn't that result in a meltdown or something? Or it ended up having disastrous consequences, and obviously we wouldn't want that happening in the real world now, would we? So I think I'll keep the controller in my hands, at least for now. Is it time to sleep? Yes, it is. I mean, the moment I saw the clock, I knew that it was time to sleep. Now, when I think back to my playthroughs of the Digimon World games, I am quite confident I've spent more time playing this game, Digimon World, than I have Digimon World 2003. Although I have had more fun playing Digimon World 2003, and certainly in like recent years, I would say I've had more playthroughs of that game than I have with this game. And when I think about the challenges that I've done for the Digimon games, I'm not talking about like one-off videos, I'm talking about proper challenges. There's only 3, the no gym, no equipment run for this game, which I think I did in 2013. And then obviously the no gym, no item chip challenge, which I did for this game, which was I think 2013. And then the current challenge for this game, the no gym, no stat boosting items, no Monzaemon 100% challenge. And then the no gym, no equipment challenge for Digimon World 2003. Personally, out of the 3 challenges, I would have to say the no gym, no equipment challenge for Digimon World 2003 has got to be the one that I most enjoyed doing. I would say what I'm doing now, this challenge has probably been the hardest because of how much you have to do in order to obtain the 15 medals, and how much it has restricted me, right, and how much the challenge has restricted me, and how much time I've had to put into it. But I think the no gym, no equipment challenge for Digimon World 2003 is the challenge that I've enjoyed the most out of the Digimon World challenges. I did have to do a lot of grinding in that challenge though, because I needed my stats to come from somewhere. I wasn't allowed to use weapons or armours or accessories. I wasn't allowed to use the gym, and so my stats had to come from level ups. And so I had to spend a lot of time getting into battles, winning them, gaining experience, and then leveling up. I have to say the fishing rod was a fantastic item, because that made getting into battles really quick and easy, because I was throwing the rod into the water, deliberately getting battles, not with the cardmon, but, you know, like proper enemies, and I was choosing the areas where I was going up against Digimon who weren't going to beat me, but were going to be hard enough to the point where I was going to gain good amounts of experience. And obviously in doing that I was able to level up, and when attempting you know, like certain like boss fights, I always made sure that I was, you know, like a significantly higher level than I normally would have done, than I normally would have been, which would have meant that I would have gotten a fair few stats from the level ups, not to mention that from all the battles I was having, the random battles to boost my levels, I was obviously the experience, as well as making my rookie Digimon higher levels, they were also making my Digivolutions higher levels, and I was learning techniques, and so when I was having battles, boss battles, I was having more advanced techniques than I normally would have had, and it also, and where different techniques are like different types, you know, you've got like fire, machine, water, etc. Where you've got like different like types, it gave me quite a big opportunity to play off weaknesses, and I think that was the playing off the weaknesses and being a higher level. I think that was what made the challenge achievable. It's just with all like the standard playthroughs that I've had, I do end up putting myself in a position where I don't get the same level of enjoyment from playing a game that I used to get, and it's kind of because of that where I kind of get the inspiration to try a unique challenge which creates difficulty and kind of brings back that spark that I used to get from playing certain games. Because with playthroughs, so often I just do the same things every time. Digimon World 2003, I always pick the out of the packs you've got, it's the pack that contains Coatmon. I always pick that pack. Is it Coatmon, Renamon, Patamon? I think it is. I always pick that pack. The challenge I did for Digimon World 2003, that was the pack that I picked and used. Although I did end up replacing Renamon with Kumamon, and obviously I got Kumamon from one of the researchers, because obviously you can get every Digimon as your partner, no matter which ones you start with. So obviously, so I had Coatmon, Kumamon, and Patamon. Although to begin with it was Coatmon, Renamon, Patamon. But then initially I replaced Coatmon with Kumamon, but then replaced Renamon with then replaced Renamon with Coatmon, and so so I then had Coatmon, Kumamon, and Patamon. So it was as if Kumamon had replaced Renamon, although that wasn't actually how it was. And yeah, and that was basically how it was. Although after defeating the final boss, when I then returned to the game to then do the additional bits after the final boss, that's with the added restriction still. I then replaced Patamon with Renamon. So I then finished with Kumamon, Kotamon, and Renamon. And then with this game, normally I either go Agumon, Numamon, Monzaemon, or I go Agumon, Centauramon, and then I either fade away, or I manage a Digivolution into an ultimate. And with my very first raised Digimon, normally, with my very first raised Digimon, normally I gain access to Mount Infinity and do everything in there, aka I defeat Machinedramon and do all of that. Normally, I wouldn't gain 100 prosperity points with my first raised Digimon, because obviously there's complications like Grey Lord's Mansion, where only certain Digimon can enter, Ice Sanctuary, where only certain Digimon can enter, the whole Frigimon thing, where you have to go with a Fire Digimon and then come back with a non-Fire Digimon. So normally I wouldn't get 100 prosperity points with my first raised Digimon, but normally I would defeat Machinedramon with my first raised Digimon, and go in, Digivolve it from your rookie to Numamon and then to Monzaemon is actually quite an effective way to go about it, I find. Because with that you can guarantee you'll get yourself the stats of an ultimate, and then you can compete with the likes of the Mount Infinity and opponents. So when Sukamon sleeps, he sleeps on his back and sleeps with his mouth wide open. And from the looks of things, his mouth goes about as wide as his entire body is. Being a Filth Digimon, I can't imagine he has the nicest of breaths in the world. And when sleeping with his mouth wide open, I do get the impression he might give off a rather unpleasant odour. And if that is the way of things, then sympathy to those who are near Sukamon when he sleeps. I thought filth Digimon were meant to reduce the amount of shit, not to add to it. I mean, I know that all they do is run around throwing shit at each other, which would add to the quantity of it, but I was trying to highlight the fact that they eat it. You would think that the amount would decrease and not increase. So in one place it seems the game can only have so many like bits of poop, because I'm sure you see that this pile here in the clinic, when one gets laid down another one disappears. So I think there can only be so many, like, within a certain place. Because I know, like, if there were, say, a load in here and a load outside, if there was, say, a load here in the clinic and then a load in Grey Lord's mansion and then a load in Digimon Bridge, they wouldn't like affect each other, but in the same place, aka within this clinic, it seems there can only be so many before one gets laid down at the expense of another. So it's year 9 and will be day 26 when we wake up. So in the next part, hopefully we'll be entering the 10th year. So thank you everyone for watching and hope you enjoyed.